So this video is going to be pretty straightforward. So you guys know I started YouTube in July and I made a TikTok just a month later, and I have met so many of you through TikTok, and I've worked with over 200 of you, and I've read way more essays than I can count. I came down to the fact that's probably around 200 that I've read since I started my TikTok, but who's to say? Basically, I've read a lot of essays and I've realized I've seen time and time again the same mistake over and over again. So I wanted to make a quick video to tell you guys not to make that mistake. I figured out that there are honestly only two types of college essays, so I'm going to tell you guys what the biggest mistake is, the two types of essays, and the fix for each essay. And yeah, before we get straight into it though, I just wanted to say, hey, for everyone who might be new to my channel, I'm Priya. I graduated from UChicago last year, majored in astrophysics, and now I work as a data scientist, which essentially gives me the authority to tell you to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, because I work with algorithms on a day-to-day basis. And I know how important this is. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm very new to YouTube, but I'm here to really tell you guys everything I've learned over the years, because I did go to college and I did graduate. So there's something to be said there. Now let's get straight into the video. The biggest mistake is just too much context and too much detail about the story you're starting with. You tell us the story in so much depth that you forget to emphasize yourself, especially with essays that are about family, culture, or broader themes like that, where you invoke other people's stories and experiences to explain your own. Adding in too much detail about things that don't really matter leads your essay to lack that depth it needs to really highlight your personality, which at the end of the day is the main point of your college essay. Of course, the reader needs context on your story before you highlight what you learned from it, which is the main point. So let's get into how to give the reader the right context while still emphasizing your own personal realizations and your own personal points of growth. The fix really depends on the type of essay you've written. After having edited so many essays, like guys, I literally live, breathe, and eat essays, honestly. I've categorized everything down into the two kinds of essay structures that most people have. The first kind of essay is one where you tell your story throughout, but you tell it in parts. So over here, the context, all of those story parts are in blue, and then you immediately after each part of this story, follow up with that point of growth, and that's in the green. So that's essentially the structure of type 1. The second type of essay is one where you give them all of the context up front and then you pivot to the growth, and the rest of your paragraphs are going to be about that personal realization in green over here. For the first type of essay, you hit on parts of the story throughout your entire essay, and then you immediately follow up on each part of your story with a personal realization. So essentially, you'd give them a part of the story and then the realization, and then more of the story and then another realization or an aspect of growth associated to that. If you have too many details, a good check would be for you to approximately figure out if at least 40% of your essay is about you personally, about what you personally learned and about your personal experiences. If it is, you're golden. So if you do have the first type of essay, I'd recommend just taking a look, go through it, and just like highlight all of the sentences where you do talk about yourself. And if it's essentially more than 40% of your essay or around 40%, you're great. If there are too many details, like all of these extraneous details where you're describing someone else or you're over explaining something, or if a sentence just sounds awkward and too wordy, those are places where you'd probably need to cut back so that you have the space to really talk about yourself. So most essays do boil down to the second type of essay. So what you want to do here is pivot to growth after your second paragraph. Take this down, like this is so important. Use your introduction to set the scene and relay the main message of your essay in the last sentence. Use the second paragraph to give the reader all of the context they need to understand the story. I've read so many essays where the bulk of the essay was just context to the story. Don't make that mistake. Finish giving the reader context within your second paragraph. And if you're writing it in a more creative format where you have shorter paragraphs or something, and it isn't essentially like a traditional structure, ensure that you pivot to growth after 30 to 40% of your essay. That's about 200 to 250 words. The biggest check I can give you guys, after 250 words, if you're still giving the reader context and you haven't pivoted to your own personal growth, to what you learned from this story, you need to fix that. Let me ask you this. What is the point of giving them all of this context? It's so that you can highlight what you learned from your experiences. So if 80% of your essay is just the story and only 20% is about what you learned, how would that convey the impact that the story or experience had on you? In almost every essay, like most of the essays, I'd say 90% of the ones that I've edited, I found this to be the case where it's either type 1 or type 2. There's an issue with extraneous detail. That's the most common issue. It's the biggest issue because students want to over contextualize everything because they're worried that their story isn't going to get across to the reader. But you have to remember, the story is just a means to getting to your growth. You want to look back and reflect on your journey and reflect on everything you've learned. And yes, you have to give them context to your journey. But the whole essay isn't about the story. The story is just the means of talking about yourself. This is not the place to not talk about yourself. Like, I want to see I's, myself's, my's, all of those words in your essay because that makes it about you, and don't over contextualize about other things that don't matter. So that's my biggest take from editing so many essays, but I have so many more suggestions. Let me know in the comments if you want to see any more videos like this, whether it's for the most common structural mistakes, the most common grammar mistakes, mistakes about even like choosing your essay topic. I can definitely make that kind of video if you're interested. So let me know down in the comments, and I really hope this helped. If you've made it this far in the video and you haven't subscribed already, you really need to take a second to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button to support my channel. Thank you so much, and I really hope this helped you, and I will see you guys at the next video.